Hello. No single word defines more what Australia stands for than Commonwealth. Think about it. Commonwealth. Shared prosperity. Equal opportunity. A fair go. This has been our heritage, and God willing, this will be our future. The state of our nation today is strong, but in the broader community, many people are disillusioned and largely disengaged from the political system. Scratch the surface and you'll uncover anger and uncertainty. Questions of where to from here? What will our next great industry be? How will we power our future so that it's clean, green and sustainable? How will we justify the decisions we make today to the Australians of tomorrow? Well, there is really only one way, and that is with a clear vision of what we want our nation to look like 12, 20, 50 years from now. And herein lies a fundamental flaw in the way our current system operates. It's geared toward short-term thinking with no reward mechanism for long-term decision making. There are any number of examples, but let's just take climate change. Basically, we're in big trouble. Well, not us so much, but our kids and their kids. And what are we doing about it? Nowhere near enough. That's what. A nation like Australia should be at the forefront of research and development into energy transition. And we're not. We're not talking about it nearly enough, and we're certainly not investing in it to anywhere near close enough. And just a question, why, as the hottest country in the world, soon to be even hotter, aren't we the Silicon Valley of solar energy? Australia should be the undisputed world leader in this field, with a largely solar-based economy. And the reason we're not is simply because there has been a lack of leadership, lack of incentives, lack of urgency, and the absence of a national vision for solar energy in this country, and that needs to change. The starting point for all this needs to be nothing less than the adoption of a new national ethos, certainly based on the lucky country, but imbued with a new spirit of personal responsibility and bias for action. I refer to it as the can-do country, and at its core, it stands for getting difficult things done. For Australia to continue punching above its weight, we need to be a nation immersed in the task of creating the best ever Australia, and no one endeavour will serve us better than becoming the can-do country. We all know there is so much to do, and our nation is growing so fast. Our job is to take charge, be daring, and direct that growth in order that all Australians benefit. When we talk about growth, we need to be careful how we define it. To realise that growth doesn't necessarily mean bigger, it can just as legitimately mean better. And that is one of the reasons why I believe in a small Australia. Not small in ambition, achievement or greatness, not small in vastness, toughness or determination, but literally small in population. I dispute the notion that population growth is imperative for national prosperity. Australia faces a choice: to be a boutique nation of excellence or a bloated nation of mediocrity. I propose we decide now, by way of national referendum, what we want the population of our country to be by the year 2060. In fact, I want Australians to have regular referendums on all sorts of matters of national importance. I want to see an end to the days when a government gets elected on 2 or 3 narrow policies, and that's all they talk about for their entire term in office. Australians demand more action on more issues, and the way to do this is with the implementation of a new system of engagement called enterprising democracy. Essentially, it's a way to widen the conversation, to bring more issues to the table, and ultimately to allow people to vote on how we want our nation to be. I want referendums on euthanasia, drugs and education. I want an immediate referendum on selling Australian land to overseas buyers. On this point, I know there are some restrictions in place, but I, like many people, feel they are totally inadequate. What's happening right now is horrifying for our grandchildren. They will never own land because it's being sold right from under their feet. Think of it this way. Imagine all of Australia was shrunk down into a single house. The government says, oh yeah, but overseas interests can only buy 5% of it. The thing is, they're buying the front door and the bathroom. Who do you think has the control? I'd also like to touch on the subject of education, arguably the most important of all subjects. We have the foundations for the best education system in the world, but more needs to be done. We need a system where teaching creativity is considered equally as important as teaching counting. A system that caters for the greatest possible diversity, that nurtures unconventional ambitions, and that rewards failures as stepping stones to success. We need a research and development community, second to none anywhere in the world, and one which is underpinned by a fully subsidised intellectual property system. Small business also needs to be given far greater precedence. The government needs to re-engineer how it supports the mums and dads, fathers and sons, or best mates from school who choose the Herculean task of starting and running their own independent business. I see the first step here as basically ditching the convoluted and overly complicated system of taxes under which small business operates, and instead replacing them all with a single flat rate small biz tax of 35%, period. This would increase efficiency, generate jobs, and give businesses better opportunities for growth and improvement. Make no mistake, small business can achieve great things. And as we're talking business, let me ask you a question. Why would someone choose to visit Australia? It's not because they have to go through it on the way to somewhere else like, say, Hong Kong or Dubai, because unless you're on the way to the South Pole, Australia is a destination. What we need to do is to reinvent it as the destination. With visionary planning and careful investment, the tourism industry in this country could easily be 50, maybe 100 times bigger than it is today. Our country is so unique, and so much of the infrastructure is already in place. The landscaping is complete. In fact, it has been for about 10 million years, and the world wants to see it. Untouched, raw, and the way it's been forever. The future prosperity of this country lies in protecting what we already have, not digging it up and selling it overseas. I see great industry and untapped opportunity in sharing our red deserts and watching our great white sharks, which essentially is the opposite of what we're doing now. And whilst I'm on this topic, let me also say this, that there is no single greater opportunity for this nation than that held in the culture of the oldest peoples on the planet, Indigenous Australians, who cared for this country for over 50,000 years. The world wants to get to know you. And by the way, so do we. More than ever before, we need to be a nation united, an icon of unity, where our differences become our strengths and wearing the hijab is as Aussie as the akubra. All citizens respected and recognised. Over and above our nation uniting, we need to play more of a role on the world stage as an architect in the United Nations, known for our leadership in helping solve the very biggest of problems. An Australian Secretary-General will stand tall as she tells the world that our country has so much to share and to teach. You may not even realise it, but Australia is a world leader in peace. This is an achievement we should share with the world. Who knows, the cultural values we live by of peace, tolerance and acceptance might just become our next great export industry. And that's what we need more of, industry and infrastructure. Like, for instance, a high-speed rail network which links the main cities of Eastern Australia. Are you aware that the route between Sydney, Canberra and Melbourne is amongst the busiest in the world, accounting for 10 million individual trips a year? A means of allowing people to travel seamlessly between and beyond these destinations is one investment which would pay for itself many times over. Some years ago, the government commissioned a report into building a high-speed rail network. I read that report and I came to the conclusion that it sold us short. Firstly, it focused on building the slowest high-speed rail network in the world. And secondly, it told us we should basically walk away from this project because it would be too hard and too expensive. The sense I get is that we're caught in a rip, a dangerous undercurrent, which is eroding our independence and pulling us away from building things ourselves to rather having them made for us in mega factories overseas. Thanks, but no thanks. We choose to maintain our own independent industries, keeping alive our ability to manufacture anything we so choose, from a woolen jumper to a state-of-the-art high-speed train network. The Hypertran would allow a train to run not on rails, but on magnets, travel in excess of 400 kilometres an hour in complete safety and comfort. Furthermore, we should extend what's currently considered possible and innovate to power the entire system on at least 30% renewables. It is possible, and Australia can do it if we decide to. And we should. It would generate thousands of jobs, dozens of new patentable technologies, and showcase Australian ingenuity and can-do-ness to the world. What we need to remember in all of this is that right now we are living in the most dynamic and opportunity-rich period in all of human history. We as a nation just have to realise it. That's why we need to be more daring and more visionary, because if we don't, if we tell ourselves these things are too hard or too expensive, then the opportunities of today will be the regrets of forever. The greatest risk we as Australians face is leaving our future in someone else's hands. Our government is an effective tool for administration, but it's a poor agent of innovation. And you know what? They alone are not going to get this job done. We need you for that, to stand up and to speak out, to be the spark or a part of a social movement that shares a vision to make things happen. Let me finish by simply saying this. Fellow Australians, you and I know that we live in the greatest and the luckiest place on the planet, but that's not enough. We need a clear vision for Australia. Actually, we need lots of visions, big and small, created by you and your community, because as they feed up into the national vision, therein lies the promise and the power to make this nation as great as we can possibly imagine. The Can-Do country is our opportunity, and if we get it right, our legacy. If this Citizens' State of the Nation address is anything at all, it's a call to you from a generation yet to be born, to think big, be bold, put aside petty differences, work with tomorrow in mind, and above all, help make something great happen. Thank you.